the Super Console X. We have this dual Android box device. And then we having the King. But this thing is not actually the King, because the real King still haven't been defeated in 2021. Why? Stay tuned, let's go. I'm doing so many of these weird Android boxes, game systems, and when you're looking at the last couple of years, there haven't been released many of these things. But what I find quite interesting that none of them will defeat the real King. They call this the Nvidia Shield Pro Edition. So when you're looking at this device, it has some problems, but also has a lot of great things. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I will look in the perspective of game systems, what can you play with this device, and is it actually like worth picking up. Is this thing the King? But why? That's mainly a question. Why didn't they defeat the real King? Because they say this is the GT King, but it's just a freaking lie, I can tell you that. But I'll explain you why I mean with that. Okay, so in this, let's say, video I just want to do a quick recap of some of the boxes I've reviewed here. So when it comes to all of these boxes, they have one thing in common. They are based on Android, same like Nvidia Shield. So let's talk about the Super Console X. This is like a really old piece of technology. They are running this on Android 4, so this thing is like dinosauric, like prehistoric. And that is what you're going to get with the Super Console X. It's a pretty cool, let's say, plug and play box. You can play a lot of awesome games. You can even use this thing like an Android box, but again, Android 4. For Android, you don't want to have that. Then we're going to get the next one. So they sell this thing actually like an Android / dual game system thing. It's kind of weird if you think about it. But this thing was basically the same kind of specification like Super Console X. They're like using different, let's say, specification chips sometimes. But in the end, we're going to get the same result over again. So here we're going to get the X3, if I'm saying it correctly. They called it the Retro Station. I must say this person was quite creative, putting a sticker over it, but if you're going to remove it, it's just going to be an Android box with some Emulation on it. Nothing really special. It was way more powerful than the previous one. Oh wait, here you can see it. Can you see it? X96 Max. But basically, like, this is what you're going to get. You have a little bit more beefy power, running on later Android versions, so we can even use the Play Store and have a lot of fun with it when it comes to Android, but it was still quite limited. And then we're having the GT King. The GT King is an awesome piece of technology. I also like these awesome light up eyes. We're having the Smurf edition with the Pro edition with the blue. That didn't have the light up eyes anymore, but the blue version was slightly more powerful than this normal version, but still it was not powerful enough when you're looking at this, the Nvidia Shield. So I think the biggest problem I had with the GT King is that it doesn't have like the full HD, let's say the 4K, stuff like that when it comes to Netflix. So that was a little bit of a bummer if you want to use it as an Android box. So this was like an all-round device. The only problem it has, it doesn't run with Emulation as I'm making this video. So this means we don't have this nice interface. So we need to work with, let's say, the Android version. We need to work maybe with an interface or front end, I like to call it. And of course we need to have like separate emulators. I need to buy from the Play Store some of them. And yeah, otherwise you cannot play. But let's take a close look. What are the specifications? First, let's take a close look inside the box. I just want to do this unboxing together with you guys, just to see what we're going to get and how is the quality, because I personally really love the design of the Nvidia Shield. So the base kit is going to give you the remote, and we're going to take a close look at it later, but I do like this remote itself. It's a very unique design, and I think that is something Nvidia did very well. So with the previous model I also included the controller, but sadly that isn't with this version. You need to buy it separately. I'm not a big fan of the controller, so I don't mind. So let me know in the comments, do you like the Nvidia Shield controller? The design itself, it looks very nice. It looks very similar like the previous model, and they did a very nice job with it. So beneath here we're going to get a quick manual, the power supply. The power supply itself is a very unique version. This is not a typical 12 volt power supply or 5 volt. This is a very unique version with 19 volts. So that is something you need to take consideration, so yeah, don't lose it. So what you're going to get inside is, of course, what I already mentioned, a quick manual, a quick guide, and some basic information how you need to start it up. But I will show you in a quick video what you're going to get on booting up the system, because there are some things you really need to know. Like both previous models, the Nvidia Shield comes in this very nice design. You hate it or you like it. I personally love it. And it also has a light up feature with the green over there. There's more like an LED beneath it, and it will light up the green part. I do like it and I love it. So So what you're going to get at the back is just the typical connections. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of the connections, simply only having 2 USB connections at the back. HDMI out, of course, an Ethernet connection and a unique connection for the power supply, not the basic barrel jack that you find on most Android boxes. I've played around with a lot of different remotes when it comes to Android boxes, but I really love the new Shield remote. Also, it includes a Netflix button, one of my favorite buttons that I use all the freaking time. It's just a basic, let's say a remote, eye of detail. For example, we have on the bottom this glossy part that says Nvidia. It also has a light up feature, so when you're holding it in your hand and it notices that you're going to move it around, it will light up the buttons. So in overall, I do like how it fits in my hand. It clicks very nice. For navigating through the menu, it's very easy to do with this remote. So I'm a big fan of this. So the Nvidia Shield is retailing around 229 euros over here. Sadly, we're not going to get the controller, you need to buy it separately, so this is going to be a very expensive kit if you need to buy it with the controller. Nevertheless, I wish they included the controller. So when powering on the device itself, keep in mind that you're going to need a lot of upgrades and new updates. I had it with the old box, but also with the new version, so take some time to set it up. When you're comparing the GT King, Nvidia Shield and all the high-end Android boxes, what I did notice with is that the Nvidia Shield has way more to offer. Not only the Nvidia games where you can stream from their services, and it's so far I know a paid service, you can do so much great things. Okay, so of course we're having the Google Play Store, and with the Google Play Store there are so many great games you can play, but because this device itself is very powerful, it also has the option to play 3-dimensional games very well. But when you take a close look at the games you can play with the Play Store, it's just one gaming machine. But also some other features that I wanted to talk about with you. Some games are free to play, some games you need to buy for a couple of euros, so take that in consideration. So in overall, I think the Nvidia Shield is really appealing to the gamers who just want to have a plug and play box that can play a lot of games. So one of the new features that Pros has is EA scaling. I have messed around with it and I must say it's a great option and it's a cool addition to the Nvidia Shield Pro. So when you're looking at retro emulation, support of the emulators is just massive compared with the Chinese. The Chinese had more like different Android versions that we still struggle with installing some of these emulators. But nevertheless, we're also going to do a separate review about it, but also we're going to test it out, some retro games here in this video. But if you just want to use the device like a YouTube machine, want to watch 4K on your television, I think the Nvidia Shield is an amazing piece of hardware. Compared with the other Android boxes I've checked out, most of them are running it very well, 4K native resolution, but some are struggling a little bit here and there. But an Nvidia Shield doesn't have any issue when it comes to 4K streaming from YouTube. When we're going to do a benchmark, if it is 3D Mark, if it's going to be the AnTuTu benchmark or Geekbench multi-core testing. What I did notice when you're comparing the Nvidia Shield TV Pro against other boxes like the Beelink GT King Pro. You can see with the scores that with some things like the AnTuTu benchmark, it's going to get a gigantic difference. But with the Geekbench multi-core, you can see it's going to get a really close match. And that is the difference what we're going to get with Nvidia Shield. You pay maybe sometimes double the price, comparable with, depends of course where you buy the Beelink. But you have so many new features when it comes to the Nvidia Shield TV Pro. And I think this thing is just worth it when you're comparing it to the Chinese boxes. Okay, so for this part of the video we're going to play some games, test them out, but I'm also going to use it with an Xbox 360 controller. Yeah, it's really old school. But the reason why I really love this controller, not only for the form factor and how comfortable it is, when you combine this with the Nvidia Shield, it will recognize by emulators, games, you name it, it works like a charm. So I recommend, if you're not interested in the Nvidia Shield controller, you can also pick up a Microsoft controller and these will work just fine. Plug and play without any hassle. Don't you love when you're playing the games and you just need to download a lot of extra stuff. But nevertheless, we're going to try some real racing. Don't mind my racing because, oh man, racing with a controller on this is not very easy to do. But just want to give you a quick look how it looks and how it plays. Alright, so in the next part let's try some emulating and let's see how games are running. Keep in mind I will do an extended testing on the Nvidia Shield Pro, but for now let's play some Dream. Okay, so we're going to shut down the frame skipping, game aspect ratio 4:3, and we're also going to run it on 4K. Take in consideration that you need to buy the program if you want to do this.
Strengthen the soul of nightmare. You win! Battle 2, fight!
But you can see that the games runs perfectly on 60 FPS locked without frame skipping on the Nvidia Shield Pro. And I can tell you, the GT King does struggle a little bit. Okay, so with the PPSSPP emulator, it runs very nice with Tekken 6 and God of War will struggle, but in the end, when you're doing a little bit of modification with God of War, it will run fine on the system itself, because God of War will still be more like the game that's very hard to emulate. And in combination with Nvidia Shield Pro, you can play a lot of great games on 60 FPS in combination with 2x resolution. So I think the Nvidia Shield Pro is a very cool device, and you can see what a lot of these Chinese boxes are struggling. PSP is running very well on the Nvidia Shield Pro.
You win. Round 2. Fight.
Okay, so when you're looking at God of War, Chain of Kinkiness, Chain of Olympus, so what you're going to get with this game, it's going to be like an okay performance. Yeah, nowadays we do have devices like handheld that run on 60 FPS, but for Android boxes this is basically the best we can get. You can see like it dips all from 50 up to 60, kind of weird, so it's not a stable frame rate, a little bit of a bummer in my opinion, but when you're looking at the GT King for example, that still is not powerful enough to run this game actually. Or you need to have adding some frame skipping. But when it comes to PlayStation emulation, you can get higher resolutions on this box that you cannot with the Chinese GT King. And that is quite interesting, so let's take a close look at that. And that is also one of the things that makes the Nvidia Shield pretty damn awesome, that we can play some of these emulators on higher resolution because we have the juice or the power to do this. And that is something I was always missing out with the cheap boxes I've reviewed here on the channel. Think about the Super Console, the GT King, stuff like that. Some of these boxes are quite expensive, not that expensive like, of course, the Nvidia Shield. But the Nvidia Shield still has a lot of awesome things to offer when it comes to PlayStation 1. I must say that there are some super console devices out there, or better said Android boxes, like the S905 X3. They are optimized now and they can play Sega Saturn too. So Sega Saturn was like some high light when it comes to Nvidia Shield. That is not really necessary at the moment anymore, because we have now other devices that also can play Sega Saturn. But still, I think this game runs really smooth when it comes to all the games, depending of course what kind of revision of the emulator you're using, because Yabasanshiro is one of the emulators that we can use on this. And yeah, don't think that you will run this in higher resolution, because this game is so demanding, and Android boxes are not there yet, you know, like they are still very powerful like the Nvidia Shield, but we need more power and better chip to run these things like Sega Saturn perfectly. Alright guys, so this is what we're going to get with the Nvidia Shield. So is it still the king? Yup. It's kind of weird to say, like this thing is actually the king after all those years. So all the previous boxes we have reviewed here on the channel, yeah, the only biggest problem I'm having with the Nvidia Shield, I personally really hate the menu, I don't like it at all. There is no Emulation support for this, it's kind of a bummer, because if you combine this with Emulation, it would be so more convenient to mess around with it. You just have this plug and play ultimate gaming box. Yeah, and overall, like, the performance is very good. And yeah, when you're looking at all the devices I've reviewed here, for example the GT King, it's an amazing box. This one does support Emulation. So in my opinion, if you're searching out like second, not an Android box, but more like a game box, the GT King personally have more like my preference than when you're looking at this Nvidia Shield. The Nvidia Shield, let me know in the comments, what do you think of this? What do you think of the whole situation with the Android boxes? Want to thank you for watching. Consider subscribing and hit that little bell. And become on the Wicked family, because it would be great to see you in the next video.